AFTERBUZZ TV Network. Now the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV Smash After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV Smash After Show.
Took a long time to come, and I won't forget the way you held me.
Hey everybody, Bing is redoing, and we are doing another episode of Smash, Season 2, Episode 6, The Fringe. I am Tamara Berg. I'm joined in studio by Kristin Carole.
Hey everyone.
We have Kendra Kabasele.
Hi everyone.
We have Sarah Mendoza.
Hello.
John Comerford is joining us from the couch.
Hello.
And Stephen Lemieux. No, it's not. It's Marissa in the booth. No, it's Stephen in the booth.
It is Stephen. How's it going?
Sorry. I thought you were there, and then Marissa was there, and then hey, Stephen, say hello.
Hello.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that opening song. This will be our year. Jimmy sang it. We'll get to the music later, but I liked that one as our opening. It was nice, poppy fun. I'm a big
She likes pop.
fan of pop songs. So
He's gonna I think I said it last week. He's gonna have an album too,
yeah.
right up on the shelf.
Was that your
next to Megan
prediction, or
Hilty.
was that,
Nice.
or
No,
is that
I
news?
opened with the premature prediction again.
Oh,
Yeah. You jumped the gun again.
Yeah.
for goodness sake,
at least
stick to the
once.
format,
Okay.
Missy.
And I predict the next episode she'll have another prediction.
Early up.
There you go.
Clever.
Early up. Odds are.
Absolutely.
So there was a lot going on in tonight's show. Many big changes going on. A couple of interesting reveals. So let's get right into it. I want to talk about Bombshell first. We start off with a lot of conflict going on. There's obviously dissonance between the visions. And we were left with a cliffhanger last week of Eileen, you're the tiebreaker. What show are we going to do? She obviously chose the more commercial version.
Yeah.
As Julia put it, this is for tourists. It's not art.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but if you have, it's forever the artist's dilemma. Do I do it for the money, or do I do it for the love of it? What were you going to say, Kristin?
I'd say they probably would get more tourists, I guess, that way. I was kind of interested to see new numbers from the new show. So if they decide to go back to that, because now that Jerry's going to potentially not be a part of it, maybe we'll see like a mix of that.
Right.
Sorry, that's a prediction.
Well,
so
it's not so much a
earlier.
prediction as getting into just where the show's going. But one of the things I was thinking about was there were a lot of reasons why. I think we all figure that this was the way they were going to go. They were going to go with it.
Yeah, I mean, we were so far ahead of them. It's like, why did it take so? Oh my God, we have a director. But what? I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
were you not paying attention to what happened to you in front of you?
I love that.
But also, one of the things I was thinking of is if you're going into season 2, the show hasn't opened yet.
Yeah.
What are you going to do on the TV show of Smash?
Right.
Unless you go a different direction with your main storyline.
Right.
So it was sort of obvious that they needed to put in, go a different direction so they could have new songs, they could have new conflict, and have another year of Smash.
Shake it up.
Shake it up indeed. So, again, we see this conflict going on. One of the big things being that Jerry wants to cut some of this beautiful ballad, the most beautiful ballad, the most amazing thing I've ever written, the most amazing thing you've ever heard. It's amazing.
It makes me sad.
And
What was the reason Derek said that they started it that had everybody falling in love, or was that Tom that said that made them fall in love with the show? Was that song?
right.
It was Tom and Julia that said that's what really hooked them on the project to begin with, was when Julia had written that song.
And I like that, and I know that they were all mad at Eileen, and I liked when Derek said, you know, you were okay, we all agreed, whatever Eileen said goes, and he goes, well, that's when I thought she would make the right choice. So Derek obviously not very happy with everything.
Well, not only that, but you know, Julia's fighting things as well at this point. You know, she was saying you know, you don't get it. You've chosen the wrong version. And I thought Tom's point was really excellent, which was, remember, you're the one who wrote this book in the first place, and you loved it. And she said, well, you know, I've done something more brilliant now.
She used to be proud of it, but because of what she's written lately, she's not as proud.
Right,
so.
right. So, any thoughts on that? On the whole, just all the dissonance and the infighting and all of that between people. It's just.
Well, I have to say, some of it seems, you know, when Derek goes off, oh, I'm the director. Oh, fine, you didn't just a little pity party. I'm going, oh, really? I was, well, how petulant can you? I mean, my God, that's the best thing you can come up with is throw a little pity party, like, oh, you don't need me now. I mean, I know that's kind of what he does, but I thought he would have had a much better, stronger argument.
I did too.
And that kind of was like, come on, you could do better than that.
I thought that was a pretty good point because he is supposed to be, you know, one of the top directors on Broadway.
He even says, how many Tonys have you won?
Exactly.
But your argument is to be poor me?
Right. It was a weak point.
Yeah. I think it's because he just wants to be needed, and it seems like everybody in his life doesn't need him anymore. Ivy's got her own show.
True.
Karen even has a side project. So kind of the people, and then he was having that problem where everybody was giving him a sexual harassment suit for a little while. So I think he feels like he's not needed. He's being attacked, and I think that's where it's coming from. I just want to make a quick reference because I love Jack Davenport, and he goes, "You're commandeering my show," Derek to Tom, and I just laughed at that because I think of him in Pirates of the Caribbean. But I think to go back to that, I think he feels like he's losing so much, kind of how Julia originally was, like, don't take my baby, you know, my baby, my show, so to speak. And for him now, he's not needed, and I think. Not to be totally girly about this, but I think most guys, even in general, like to be needed in some way, whether or not they want to say that.
No, I'm on island.
I didn't think it was so much, in my opinion, that he was like, oh, poor me. I saw him more so saying like, well, it's your loss then. I am the guy that's won all the Tonys, and if you're not going to listen to what I have to say, then poor you. Yeah, poor you. And I'm just going to like take my butt out of here and do something even better, where I can actually have control and creative say.
And a lot of control over a hit list. They need him.
Yeah, he seemed kind of over it. Like he didn't
Bombshell?
care. Yeah.
Yeah?
Just everything. Just everybody, everything, and leave me alone.
It sounded to me like he was going to take his ball and play elsewhere. He sounded like a baby is what he sounded like.
I'll find a new playground.
That's right. That's what it sounded like to me. I was like, geez, strap a pair on.
There's a sandbox over there I'll be better in.
Sorry.
How do you really feel?
To be a little bit crude, it was like a big pissing contest, you know?
There you go.
As the term that's used a lot in German. Around people that I know. Yeah, it was just, you know, oh no, I'm better than you. No, I'm better than you. Oh, really? Then I'm going to leave. Oh, fine, you leave. No, I quit. No, I fire you. You know, it was one of those kind of things. But, you know, so he quits, and Karen follows him.
Yeah.
And is talking to him, and she, before this, so our stories are kind of intersecting, but Karen earlier in the night, or the night before, had found out, right, that Ellis, my nemesis, had something to do with what was going on with Bombshell, with Jerry, with Eileen, with all of the backstage dealings. Finding out also, too, that Ellis is gay.
What?
It's AfterBuzz exclusive. Really?
We knew he had to be at least sort of into guys because he had hooked up with some guy, right?
Yes. Yes.
And he was trying to for one of them as well.
Yes. He was. He was just despicable in all ways. And not that being gay is despicable. I just mean he was a despicable guy who was constantly using people back and forth and
Just manipulating.
all over the place, manipulating everybody. And it was just, that was just a mess. And we can't get rid of him yet. So
At least we don't have to see his face
thank
yet.
God.
I don't know if we will in the future.
Yeah.
No
but we
offense to
haven't.
the actor.
No, yeah.
No, absolutely. It's true. He did a good job of making us hate.
clarifying that.
He did a great job of making us hate him. So Karen tells Eileen about Ellis, which furthers the whole rigmarole that's going on. What's a better word for that?
I'm so glad she told her. You know how she said, "Oh, I don't have
Kerfuffle.
time," and everyone always backs off in this show. Sorry.
No, John he just
Kerfuffle.
brought out a perfect
Yes.
word, a kerfuffle. There was a kerfuffle going on.
No, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't always get around to it in shows.
No, I was glad she pushed through because Eileen said, "Oh, I don't have time," and usually they just say, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'll tell you
Then I'll
later."
tell you
Exactly.
later. And then to the point where it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, and then the show's already on
So-
Broadway, and she goes, "Oh, by the way, it wasn't."
Yeah.
Jerry made this
Remember-
deal with Alice. Remember
Alice?
that?
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting that she goes into his office, snoops into Jerry's office, and so quickly finds everything.
Yeah.
How horrible is Jerry? He doesn't cover his tracks.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, she was also married to him for how many years? So
Yeah,
maybe
you got to know something
maybe
about
if
how
you-
he runs his
But
business.
my
Yeah,
point
if
is that
Karen went in
shouldn't-
there-
wouldn't he know that she would know?
that she was going to maybe find out.
or that she would know where he would hide things because they've been married for so long. Wouldn't he
Yeah,
think
but-
of some other place to hide this stuff?
Yeah, and if it is incriminating,
Yeah.
anybody could find it. You
Exactly.
should probably be a little bit. Oh, are you pulling the implausible card,
Sorry,
John?
sorry.
To go along
Flag
with
on the play.
that, was I the only person that thought it was just such a big
Convenient.
coincidence that Ellis's ex-girlfriend happened to be
Yeah.
at the hit
Like,
list
that was
when
weird.
she was
Yeah.
she lived.
That was a heck of a lot of X-Buzz in that scene.
Yeah,
Was
there
that the same girl,
was.
or was it a different actress playing? She didn't look the same to
Don't
me.
remember now.
I don't
Because we
either.
would have said, "Oh, that's Alice's."
Well, that's what. Well, and that's the thing. When she came on the screen, we went, "Who was her boyfriend?" I completely missed it because she used
Yeah.
his last name. She said Ellis
Ellis Boyd.
Boyd, and I was like, "Who's Boyd? Boyd?
Yeah.
He's on Justified.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with this show."
And then we thought it was Alex. And
Yeah.
her hair was back. Usually, I think it was down.
Yeah,
I don't think it was the same
rewatched it
actress.
just to double check. I'm
Yeah.
not sure and she didn't have that big of a role
Yeah.
earlier. She was kind of occasionally in bed with him and they
Yeah.
were talking.
Right?
But
So
we knew who she was.
I think we
That was
just had
weird.
so much hatred for Ellis in any scene.
Well,
we're
yeah, it
just
didn't
like
matter.
picturing
Fixated
stabbing
on-
him.
Exactly.
Character, yeah.
Exactly.
That's funny.
So ultimately, what happens is that Ellis sabotaged the show by pointing out Nick's
Background. Yeah.
background, which created problems for Eileen, et cetera, et cetera, et
Just how he got
cetera.
Said everything about it,
arrested and how he's in jail.
So, what do we think about? I'm just going to go into predictions because I'm just going to go there.
That's how we do.
What do we
How
think?
we roll.
Yeah, kind of. What do we think is going to happen with? We know what's happening with the show, but with Eileen and pursuing this with Jerry, we got a little bit of it in the coming ups. But anybody have any thoughts about what she's going to do? I mean, because Jerry could, in theory, perhaps have committed a crime.
Yeah. But she
You know,
said she's
aside
not going
from-
to do anything until she gets the show back.
back.
How the heck is she going to do that?
Well, is that going to involve blackmail?
I don't know. But she said she's not going to say anything to him until she gets the show back. So how is she going to blackmail without letting him know?
Right. Well, you can't.
She's gonna do it in a sneaky way.
Although I like that right now she has the upper hand and Jerry has no idea. And I think that's another reason why maybe it didn't take her so long to find it if he was putting in his usual hiding spots. Because he seems very smug, like, I am never going to get caught with this.
I'm
and
the man.
I broke her down.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was thinking. He just, well, he wasn't thinking completely clearly. He had his mindset on one thing
Yeah.
and not any other possibilities because here's a man who usually gets what he wants.
Yeah. But what?
I just.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I just don't see anything still bad happening to Jerry
Yeah.
because, like, and I'm not a legal expert. Like, I don't know that, you know.
Well, and they haven't given us enough information.
Right, but I
make
feel
some
like what would
conclusions.
happen is that Jerry would pin it on Ellis.
Yeah.
Okay, like he's masterminded that since Ellis did the legwork, he's gonna be
Right.
the one.
He's insulated.
And if anything, it's gonna cause, you know, Eileen's gonna be mad at Jerry. Now Jerry's gonna kick Eileen off again and won't even consider
She
her
won't
as
even
a.
be part of the show.
Yeah,
at
so
all.
then it's back in Jerry's full court.
Yeah, he may have covered his tracks because remember he told Ellis he doesn't ever want to hear from him
Yes.
again. So he
Right.
probably has locked everything down.
memory.
Yeah. You know?
But it would be fun. I mean, they're setting it up because everybody hates Jerry. It would be nice to have it all
Have a big fall.
secretly all lead to
Yeah.
him being horribly, ashamed and flogged in public or something like that. That would be nice.
Then
Yeah, that would be a good
Then I
episode.
feel like everybody would leave the show, and then Cameron would go to hit list, and I don't know. That's more predictions.
Right. We can't help ourselves.
I think Karen might go to hit list anyways.
Right.
I mean, they're
They
painting
kinda
it
hinted
that way.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Which would be fun.
I think so too. Now that Derek's on board, it's
Yeah.
not this little thing in a garage anymore. It's
Right.
it could be so much
But
bigger.
then they have this thing because so they have Karen. Am I going to go to hit list? Am I going to stay in Bombshell? And then if she leaves and goes to hit list, then you're going to have Ivy going. Should I go to Bombshell? Should I stay in the
Liaisons,
and then you
right.
could bring
And
in
Derek
new
too,
characters.
directing.
Exactly.
Like, am I
Which
going to
one am I gonna
direct Bombshell or am I going to direct hit list?
It's like The Bachelor. Is she going to go with him? Is she gonna...
How does that work though contractually? Like, isn't that? Do they sue each other?
Well,
Like,
of
how-
course there are contracts, and of course there are going to be threats to sue. But one of the things that I have heard more than once within contractual situations is, the reps say to the talent, you could show up to work very unhappy.
Yeah.
And, if you're very unhappy, you can't do the job, and then the, producers or higher-ups in the job that you're doing basically decide they need to fire you because you're not, you're not.
You're not going to serve the peace.
Exactly.
Project.
Exactly. You're not doing a good job, basically.
So if you suck like Sean Hayes did in Liaisons,
So they can
might get
release
fired.
you. Yeah.
But there's it takes a lot of maneuvering
Yeah.
to get it going right.
Because you can't, you could get contractually in hot water if
Yeah.
you sabotage the project, so you have to be real careful the line you.
Well, because they threatened Karen with it, but
Exactly.
it's Karen, so I don't know if there are loopholes or if they'll be
There's always
lenient with
loopholes.
her.
or if it's a TV show and they'll let her go, rather than real life.
But because she kind of went behind their back to go play, I don't even know the character's
Yeah, we don't know the
name
character name yet.
in Hit List.
Hit list, yeah.
Right.
So I didn't
And they're
know.
gonna find out. It was already publicized, and the reviews are going to be publicized.
Of course.
There was already the bad review from the first night, so the better second night is obviously going to be talked about. Now that who was that guy at the end that came at the end?
Jesse Martin. I didn't get his
yeah.
character name.
I didn't know his character name either. But now that he's interested in, hopefully maybe funding the project
Right.
or helping out.
Right. Right.
So it's going to be in the papers.
Yes, odds are. Odds are. Well, let's move on to liaisons in a second, but first somebody needs to say something.
Oh,
I
let's
think it's
have
you.
everybody. Thank everybody for writing their comments in and going to iTunes and downloading and leaving your ratings and your comments. We appreciate that so much, especially those comments that offer your different theories of what might be going on and the machinations behind the scenes. We like to hear all the ideas that you guys have come up with, so please keep doing that for us. Rate and comment, tell a friend, have them part of the conversation, and we'll keep this going for everybody. Thank you very much.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. Kendra, did you have any of those comments that you wanted to mention, or do you want to do that later in the show?
Sarah had.
Oh,
you
Sarah
mean
had
the,
We
from
do
iTunes?
have
Yes.
some comments.
Sorry, I kind of sprung that on you a little bit.
And thanks everybody. We actually got quite a few. One of our listeners / viewers, Erin, she actually agrees that Sean Hayes is a great comic relief for the show. So she enjoys the whole liaison storyline, as wacky
Yes.
as it might be.
Yes.
And she says it's great to see Ivy doing something on her own, far away from Bombshell.
Yeah.
So she kind of likes that.
Yes, good point.
And I personally, I'm starting to like Ivy more because I know I've obviously voiced that I'm Team
Yeah.
Karen, but I'm watching her really not change because I think she's still in there, but I am finding her more likable in this that she is trying to get the production together, and she's being really nice to Sean Hayes and trying to work with him and not against him.
I was thinking about that tonight too, because I was Team Karen as well, have been, and they're obviously writing Ivy in a way that's more sympathetic. And it's interesting because last season she was all about the manipulation, about who do I get to, who do I talk to, what do I do to get the job. And now in this season she's being more about the work. You know, she's trying to
sort of already.
And and that's just more appealing to an audience. I mean, that's the thing that well, I don't so much mean appealing to an audience, because we do like to watch villains in a certain way as well, but it makes her character more likable because she's not trying to create all these backroom deals and
which
and
she could easily be doing right now. Even though he is a bigger star than her, she's the leading lady in this particular role, and she could make him look really bad maybe in a scene with him, but she decides to take the number that she likes. You could see on the look that it was about the work, that she looked out to the audience, and it wasn't anything conniving. It was just, these people look bored. I can help to make this funnier. I'm going to take this opportunity to spice it up, not just for myself, but for the show and for everybody watching.
Well, I think that Ivy just always did want to put on a good show. And in this instance, she's not directly competing with someone. This is like a completely different character in the show. So, of course, she's going to want to try and complement and make the show as good as it can be. Whereas with Bombshell, it's like they both want the same part. Even though one was already chosen,
it was a direct,
there was always the possibility that, you know, something would happen to Karen or whatever, and she might be able to step in. So with her competitive spirit, I think that's why she was always so conniving and all of that.
Yeah, because the situation required that they be competitive against each other.
And in her personality, she was competitive in a way that wasn't, you know, likable.
Right.
Just have a quick footnote.
Yes.
Jesse L. Martin's character's name is Scott Welker.
Okay.
Just a little.
Thank you.
Did you have something to say about that with Ivy?
Well, I'm talking about the Ivy storyline because Sean Hayes going to her and saying, "Okay, we're cutting that number because you're, it's too good." And the funny thing that happens more often than you'd think, and I am actually aware of the one specific time. I can't name names, but the star of the show did a fabulous job. But somebody who was not the star of the show and was not a name, but did an incredible job on the stage. And in rehearsals, as they were getting closer to show date, exactly the same thing happened. She was taken aside and saying, "Okay, well, you can't do that anymore. You need to knock it off because they're here to see the star, and you can't outshine her." And the terrible tragedy of the whole thing is, this actor made the show better, made everybody better, but because she was getting the laughs and the attention. The star of the show said, no, thank you. So it was to the detriment of the show that this happened. Because here's the thing, the star would have looked amazing, would have looked better, would have looked magnanimous, would have looked all these things, but the ego wouldn't allow it, and so they quashed the whole thing and just undercut at the knees and just took that performance down to nothing.
Wow.
And it was just sad and tragic to see.
And you have to wonder how often that happens, because if you know a story like that, how many have happened that nobody knows about, or that are not as as well known by people?
And it was when I was watching that, it was almost they verbatim they took the lines. They must have with the production. That's exactly what happened. So.
You can be funny, you just can't be that funny.
Exactly.
You can be good, you just can't be that good.
Like Sean Hayes' characters.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah.
But that whole storyline was a lot of fun for me because I honestly had no idea how Sean Hayes was going to react from moment to moment. Every time we got new information from Ivy, honesty, wow. We get that whole thing there, and he goes, let's do this again. I mean, now he's excited about honesty. He's like, he's a nut.
And wow, I really felt that.
I thought when he was watching her, he was liking it, and then when he pulled her aside, it was the opposite, but it was... In his face, I thought he was like, wow, I'm going to learn from that. And then he said, no, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I learned that you are too good and you are upstaging me and you've got to go, was kind of what he learned.
I think he liked it until they laughed really loud at the end.
Yeah.
Because I think you're right. I saw enjoyment on his face But then there was
Then you
this
saw
huge
jealousy.
laughter, and he's like, "Wait a minute, they have not laughed that
Yeah.
high for me, that much for me."
So it'll be interesting to see how
He became
how,
insecure.
Yeah, and how much he's going to take the feedback that he got and see what
Right. What's
how
he
that
gonna
show
do now?
transforms.
Yeah.
I have another comment here from one of our viewers that I wanted to share because I think Kristin will like this, and I think maybe you too. Maga, she says, or he says, I'm not sure actually if Maga's a female or male. She says, I don't like Karen and Jimmy at all. He is stupid, and Derek is better for her.
So right.
Well, I don't know about the Derek part, but okay.
How cute. Okay, how cute were Derek and Karen though
That's
today?
what I was gonna
because
say.
I really like them even more because there were little subtle things today that even when he was leaving and she goes, Derek, and he goes, I'm sorry, love.
Right.
I quit.
Love.
Or even the fact that he was there watching her at Hit List.
Yes.
That he showed up,
up,
and she even said, you showed up and kissed him on the cheek, which is not the first time we've seen this. And he goes, I promised. That is not a Derek we would have seen
No.
with Ivy or anybody else.
No.
So I
Promise
really
schmamis, first of all, from Derek. That
And
doesn't
he-
mean anything last season.
he had his little dream sequence because we saw her singing with Jimmy
Yep.
through his eyes. So he's seeing her. She's like officially his muse for
Yeah.
every show that
Yeah.
he's on.
That's how he would have staged it, and you think so? That's his muse.
I think that's why he took it on. I think it had nothing to do with Hit List because if he liked it earlier, he heard some of the songs. He was
Yeah.
there before. It was seeing her perform on stage, and all of a sudden he got his his
Yeah.
dream sequence. He's gonna stare at her costumes again or something.
I think he just believes in her so much, and he's seen so much growth throughout the production or the whole bombshell process. And that was something that he was passionate about for so long that he maybe just wants to see that through somehow. And he still got the star, and she still
Right.
wants to be a star.
Right.
Maybe this is going to be like another opportunity so that he can follow through with at least some of that
Yeah.
dream that he had.
Because it's certainly not going to be with Bombshell.
Well,
Watch next week.
Okay, but can we go back to Maba's? Is it Maba?
Maga.
Maga, sorry.
M-A-G-A.
Maga's comment about Jimmy and
Yeah.
Karen. Oh my God, it's cringeworthy.
I don't think they have chemistry. Am I the only one watching? Like, he has a great voice. I'm not disputing that. He's a great
Yes,
dancer.
I agree.
I don't.
He's just a jerk.
I don't see the chemistry in the acting for both of them. I think
I
they're good
agree with you.
I don't know. I just don't see it.
I think
Well,
it's,
It's not there.
Go ahead, Kendra.
no, it's like a safe option for her. Like Derek's kind of, still in her head. I think the bad guy he was last season, and not that she's thinking in seasons, but actually, yeah. Where's the line
Previously
drawn?
in my life.
Yeah.
But here's what I don't get. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I
Patricia.
just wonder where the line is drawn in
Yeah.
her head. Like, how does she?
But that's because I'm wondering the same thing, not just with Derek, but with Jimmy. It's like, what do you even care about? This guy
Oh,
who's talking to you the way he's talking to you. You're in a contract on a Broadway show, and they say, and by the way, you signed the contract, so you're legally obligated to do what the producer says with respect to the show. So it's not like she can do anything
surprise.
about it. And if the roles were reversed and it were him in that position, like he would care what Karen had to say.
Absolutely.
Had to talk to her the way he did. It's like, why do you give this guy 2 minutes?
Yeah.
I was actually surprised Kyle he didn't yell at Karen and then Jimmy stuck up for her. I thought that was a weird writing of characters.
Right.
Did you guys say that earlier? When Karen came in and was saying that, Kyle was the one that said, wait a minute, don't you have this? And Jimmy goes, rehearsal. She had to go to rehearsal.
Jimmy stood up for her.
Jimmy stood up for her earlier
Yeah.
until she quit.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
fact that she had to go to rehearsal, Kyle was
Exactly.
like, hey, we have to practice. And she goes, well, we've been practicing all week. And Jimmy goes, I believe in her. She'll be fine.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. But yeah, Jimmy,
Wait, Jimmy or Kyle said she'll
Earl-
be fine.
the first one,
Okay.
remember when she had rehearsal and she
Yeah,
had to leave early?
Because
Yeah.
I was wondering. Well, I'm not
Jimmy
wondering.
said she was fine.
Okay, because Kyle tried to shut her up because she was like, "Wait, why is he saying boyfriend when he was talking about?" Is that the time?
No, that
Yeah,
was later.
It's a
That was
separate,
later.
instance.
Yeah, that was later.
Oh, okay.
Because there were 2 times where she left and
No,
they were
I
PO'd.
remember what
Yeah,
you're
that-
saying.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking of the other time.
I thought
sorry.
that
So
was
it's almost
interesting.
as if like Jimmy only wants it to go the way that he wants it to go, as long
Yeah.
as he's controlling the situation. Like oh, Karen is gonna might go to practice, but maybe she shouldn't. He can decide like, oh yeah, you can go ahead. But then when she's the one that's like, I can't do it, then he's like, no, I didn't make that decision. And like,
adult Hulk.
Yeah.
And it's only because of Karen that they're in Fringe anyway.
right?
If it hadn't been for her, they'd be still in their stupid
I'm
loft.
grateful.
Somebody hit him, please.
Shouldn't you always have an understudy anyways? What if she was...
No, not in a situation
I'm
like
just
that.
I'm trying to help Karen out.
Yeah, you know, Jimmy's just, we had 1 week of respite of him being like, I think he was off his meds last week, because he was kind of, you know, pleasant and interesting to be around last week, and then we got back to our old Jimmy. But I have to say that's one of the things that frustrates me about this show is that there aren't things we can really count on.
Right.
And I understand that there are twists and turns, and that makes things interesting. But if there's a solid foundation of a character or a storyline, it's easier for me to appreciate the twists. Go ahead. What do you want?
Well, that's what I'm saying about the Jimmy character, because a lot, you know, some of these characters start to get two-dimensional. Jimmy's is that way. He's not very fleshed out for me.
Yes.
He doesn't have. If I knew why he was making the decisions and having the behavior he was having, I might understand it better. But it isn't that. You look at the guy and you go, really, is this the best you can write for this guy?
Right. Right. And yeah, you're right. It's because of the lack of dimension, a lack of depth in characters. Because again, you know, then they turn on a dime, and we end up kind of rolling our eyes at some points because we go, seriously, that's where you're going with this, when, you know, we were just kind of sticking with you on the earlier.
And the part I love about Jimmy is apparently he writes these incredible songs, and he has such depth there. And I get that, you know, it's kind of fun not to be able to do that in just social interaction, but give us something other than, you know, him being this pouty little, again, another one I just want, somebody hit him, please.
Yeah.
Like, I still want to know, they like totally cliffhangered us on the, like, he went back to an apartment. He got beat up to get.
Oh,
part
right.
of his
Yeah.
grip. Like,
Never cleared that
I
up.
felt like that was going somewhere. We were gonna find out the third dimension of
That
Jimmy.
didn't track very well, did it?
And it just
kind of fizzled.
anyway. Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree.
Meanwhile.
I want to go back to liaisons and just talk a little bit about Sean Hayes, because he's fun. He is fun to watch. Great comic relief, and I love you wrote it down because I could see it in your very nicely written notes. Mine are such chicken scratch. I can't even read it. But he talked about how I've been off my meds. I haven't slept in 4 days, and
Yeah, he studied archery, French, and was arrested. I absolutely, or bears are metaphors for vanity and obsession.
right.
He's great. He has a comic relief. I'm kind of hoping he runs into Julia at some point. There's the Will and Grace fan
That's
in
what
me.
we were saying
Right,
last week. Yeah.
I'm not sure if that'll happen, and it's just a coincidence they're on the show together.
I don't know
but
if that coincidence could happen on this show, though.
That's true. They run into just how
might
Ellis's
have fun with
girlfriend just happens to be at that show. And
Right, exactly.
maybe Julia would probably go to opening night with Tom, because Tom would definitely be there to cheer Ivy on.
Yeah.
I always love Sean Hayes. He does bring a great sense of comic relief, and I think this is a perfect show for him because he is, I feel, even though he doesn't do stage, I do feel like he has a great presence for something that is on stage and it's television. So I think he's been a great asset to the cast.
And the thing I like about that storyline too is we know Sean Hayes to have this great comic ability and stuff like that, but the character himself is going from somebody who is known for that as well, and hopefully moving in a more serious direction or a slightly different direction than what he's known for.
Yes.
So that'll have a nice little arc for it and something we can see different from Sean Hayes that we've been used to.
Yes.
Yeah, because he's not like just Jack on here.
Exactly.
But he still has that comic relief.
And he has a little more dimension than some of the other main characters in the show.
I was like, what? You write for guest people even better than you do for your regulars. I was like, what are you doing?
Has anyone seen Dangerous Liaisons?
Yes.
The play?
No.
Okay. Because I have not. So, John, you're going to be on the hot seat for this one.
Hot couch.
What would anybody ever believe? Hey, let's make this into a comedy.
That would be a stretch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it seems incredibly implausible to me. I'm sorry, I have to bring it up again.
It is, but sometimes you have to go way out on the edge, and you might find some nice little place to land because nobody would expect it. So it's completely original and different and fun.
For TV or for real life?
For real life. I don't know about the TV thing because you really have to know the show in order to get the references they're making. If you don't know the show at all, it doesn't make any sense to you what they're doing.
I understand, heavy dramas and that sort of thing, but the idea that a star could come in and go, I think we're going to make this a comedy just seems really a little bit silly to me.
Yeah, that part I don't know. But obviously they hired him because he's the name. He's going to bring in all the tickets.
Right.
Put butts in the seats.
Right.
So I'm sure he wields a lot of power in that regard. And as we've just spoken earlier, the stars do wield a lot of power and can get...
That's right. We did talk about that, didn't we?
Especially if they're brought in specifically to get the production made and bring people in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they could almost make it a spoof on it, but it's not something that most people would know. I feel like there's a decent amount of shows, they're usually cartoons, that make fun of something like a South Park or Simpsons where they take a storyline and they're able to spoof it in a different way. But
Family Guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Anything. If Seth MacFarlane was in charge, I may buy that Liaisons could be a comedy.
Yeah, I really feel like they wouldn't let it go that far in real life. Like,
I guess that's part of what I'm saying too. Yeah,
like maybe a little bit, but not like that dramatic and like the entire thing.
And it getting out to the press.
Right. And letting the press sit there and watch it and risk your name.
Maybe we're missing some of what they're trying to do.
That's one thing I don't know. Do they have those? I mean, because normally you wouldn't bring the press in to a rehearsal. At least I'm not aware of it. I'm not saying that they don't do it.
They did it for Bombshell.
I was like, but why would you do that on something like that? That will just kill
to
you.
give it buzz,
like a preview
I guess, right?
buzz type of.
Even if it's negative, but I guess they take that chance.
Bad idea.
And I kind of want to know how big of a star Terry Falls is, because we just hear he is a big one, but I feel like with Rebecca Duvall, they kind of developed, this is the movies that she's been in, this is what she's done. Or when Jennifer Hudson was on as Veronica, you see, well, she's getting her own show, and they're going to show it on Bravo as a concert series. I mean, they don't just do that for anybody.
Right.
So I don't feel like we know, is he in the comedic realm as, who's a really big name right now? So, like a Steve Carell or
I think
Jim Carrey or something.
Or Will Ferrell or something like that.
Yeah,
like we don't know the merit behind his pull.
Exactly. So if he's able to say, he goes in there and I'm going to cut this number, how big is he? I mean, obviously he's big, but I wish we would see a little bit more of them talking about his prior work.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But the one thing we do know is you can tell by the way all the other actors didn't say anything throughout all these rehearsals.
Right.
When he actually sat them down and asked for it, nobody wanted to say anything, and that's how you know he holds all the power. And I'm not saying a word because I want my job.
I want to keep my job.
And there wasn't a Derek in there as a director to tell him to be quiet.
Yeah, the director they had was like sycophant.
Yeah, he was
pushover.
He was
big pushover.
So let's go on to Hit List. We've kind of gotten there a few times as we've been talking tonight, but so Hit List is going to this Fringe festival. That's just a 2-day festival. They've gotten some press. They're in is it Time Out?
Yeah, Time Out New York. Yeah.
And with a picture of Karen, so they're thinking things are going to be all lovely and they're really going to get something good happening. Karen has to back out, and then it gets a little complicated there. With she needs to back out. Are they going to find someone else? It gets to be a little bit of a mess, especially because you were talking about this. We're introducing you on Broadway, and if we're not introducing you on Broadway, if they're introducing you, then you're not getting introduced on Broadway.
Yeah.
So just talk about what you had said with that.
I was saying with it, and again, I'm not sure how her contract is saying, but she's not on Broadway.
Yeah.
She's in this little...
nowhere near Broadway.
She's in a basement.
Basically, she's in a basement performing for some random people. Maybe holds, 30 it looked like?
Right. And I think the word fringe should tell you something. She's not even on the fringe of Broadway.
Yeah. So it's just, you can still say introducing Karen Cartwright in her Broadway debut.
Yeah. Because there's no way Hit List could be ready for Broadway before Bombshell.
Yeah, exactly. It would take a lot more time for it. So you could still just, maybe that could be part of the new thing. And again, with Jerry not around because he's the one that told her no, I think Eileen, Julia, Tom, they all like her. So maybe they would be a little bit more accepting about that. As long as Bombshell was the first priority in all of this, and they don't lose
And I
her.
don't know how that could really hurt Bombshell anyway.
Exactly.
Right.
Get her name out there so she's a little bit more
Exactly.
well known,
I think-
and then you put, you know, butts in the seat.
It's still
so
her
to speak.
Broadway debut.
But
no
he's
matter what you do.
putting money into it, and if she bombs, no pun intended, on the hit list, and it's introducing her face. It's not necessarily introducing, you know, to Broadway, but it's still introducing her as a person.
Well, if she
then
bombs, then they're still gonna because
Then
no one will see her.
Yeah, all
so.
40 people who watched her
but-
bomb.
Yeah.
But still, you know, but because there's already buzz that she's going to be in Bombshell, that bad girl, and, you know, the girl that's
So who was bad in the hit
yeah,
list, right?
she's going to be on this. I'm not going to go see it.
Yeah, I didn't buy the argument only because if Fringe is where I think it is,
Nobody cares.
if it's no
Right.
good, no one will have seen it anyway because it's just not on the radar enough. If it's good, then it
Well,
helps Bombshell.
Also, he thinks Derek's going to get involved, so it may be more visible than he thinks.
Well,
Than
he
people
didn't.
think.
He didn't know that at the time when he came up to Karen, though, that Derek was going to
But
be
he's
a part of
Team
it.
Karen.
Who, Jesse Martin's
Derek's
character, do you
always-
mean?
No,
No, he's talking about
you're
Jerry.
Oh,
Jerry.
Jerry. Got it. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm like everywhere. Yeah. So.
But now I could see with his concern. But when he went up to her about it, Derek was still on Bombshell and not going over there.
But
He didn't
kept
know that.
defending her, so he may have. I don't know. I think there's just some sort of behind the scenes thing we're not.
Yeah.
We're not knowing about.
I just
Ellis is feeding more information
Yeah.
too.
it didn't make sense
Cleveland.
to me
Didn't make sense to Sarah.
either, though. No, it just didn't, because it's a small shoebox performance. Whatever review that's going to be made is going to be from some small, probably media outlet in the side column of whatever pamphlet they were looking at. Like, who really is going to look at that and be like, oh my gosh, we've got to listen to this tiny column about this tiny show in a tiny festival. Like, we're not going to
But
see her anymore.
Time Out's pretty well known in the community, so it's if they're showing already that she's going to be in it. I'm team what I
She's-
said. So
yeah,
I'm just
exactly,
trying to.
Oh, yeah.
No, I think it's a worthy argument. I just didn't buy it from Jerry. I thought there would have been a better argument. He could have just said, look, I'm the producer. I don't want you in it. So if you want to be in it, go. But the
Yeah.
argument he made was weak to me, and it just
Yeah.
that just doesn't work. I think there was a
for
better
me.
argument to make. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that Derek is connecting himself to Hit List before he quit Bombshell, because I didn't really see what he was so in love with in the show. He's a huge Broadway producer, and these are completely unknown.
You mean director? We're talking about
Excuse me,
Derek.
director.
Okay.
Derek, yeah, sorry. And these are completely unknown playwrights. Coming out with a few songs that they've written on the back of napkins, and he, I just find it a little difficult to connect him to this show at the stage that it is when he
Yeah.
finds it.
The only-
and unless you're going for the raw talent, I need to
That's
go back
what
to
I
my
mean.
roots kind of thing.
I'm hoping what I gleaned from it was that he's tired of this.
yeah.
Because it's like, it's the same thing, same old thing, and let's just do something raw, something new, something fresh. And that's the only thing I can see where he would find value in that.
Well,
And it
and-
doesn't hurt that Karen. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, good
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
Sorry.
We're on
I
the same
agree, but
page.
Yeah.
No, I think he wants to.
But
Bonus points.
I actually didn't see it the same way you guys did because I didn't see him so much about her, although I completely, when you said it, I went, oh yeah, that makes a hell of a lot of sense. When I first saw it, I just saw him seeing it as a director and how he would stage this and how this little thing here could be this big thing here. I saw him looking at it as professionally as a director, not as
No,
someone.
I mean, I think we agree with that too.
But the
I
reason he
think,
first got
yeah,
involved.
it's almost.
Oh
like
no,
a
I agree. I just
bonus.
it didn't even cross my mind about the whole Karen thing. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a bonus.
All right, let's talk about music. We had pretty much 4 songs in tonight's episode. So the first one was "This Will Be Our Year," which was sung by Jimmy, and as I stated already, I liked it because it was poppy. I like it. I like the upbeat pop song. Anyone else?
It's good to open the show with a song,
Yeah.
Yeah.
especially
And-
if it's upbeat.
And because they were all kind of getting ready, it did sort of remind me of. I know they had put this as the new Rent, but it did kind of remind me of probably like La Boheme in, if I'm saying the song.
La Boheme.
Which
in Rent.
that guy, Martin, what's his name? Sean Martin.
Jesse L. Martin.
He was in Rent, right?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
So it's funny that they said it was like the new Rent, and then the guy from Rent is in it.
Yeah.
Just need like Idina Menzel to show up and
Yeah.
Right.
everything.
So then we had Never Give All the Heart.
All the heart.
Never Give All the Heart, which was a Karen song.
I really liked that
The new
performance.
version?
Yeah, the new
Yeah.
version that Tom redirected.
Directed, yeah.
Yes.
I wish they had taken it a little bit farther with it. So for me, I just wanted them to push it a little, especially Karen's performance. I didn't quite get that it was that different. And I wanted them to go a little bit farther so we could really see a new vision. And I just
Or
Yeah.
see that through Tom's eyes. I was expecting them to kind of go into mini dream sequence.
yeah, kind of like they did with the airplane. And
Yeah,
all.
because it
Right.
looked like she didn't know what
Exactly.
she was doing, which
Yeah.
I liked because that's what her character was supposed
Yeah.
to kind of play
Right.
around with it. But as a viewer, I think it would have been more interesting to have seen her in Marilyn gear again, kind of
Yeah.
pushing all these guys aside, especially if the guys were in their outfits that we could tell that, okay, this one's Joe and this
Yeah.
one's.
Yeah, I
you
was
know,
trying to
everything.
decipher.
But I liked the song. I liked
Yeah.
it.
Then we had Ivy singing A Letter from Cecile, which was the operatic piece.
I just thought this part was funny that you can't if you're only listening. But she has the quill in her hand and she has for some reason she decides the paper should be up in the air rather than be on the desk.
On a
to write.
desk,
So
yeah.
she's writing. I was like, why is she doing that?
Because it's funnier, John.
But she wasn't trying to be funny. Not at that point. It was just so
Maybe
odd.
she
I was like, what?
was.
But it wasn't. Well, okay. If she was, it wasn't funny. It was just odd.
I was actually surprised. I thought when they were talking about her number, I thought it was going to be another big ballad, and I wasn't expecting it to
yeah.
be this kind of very funny, goofy one. I thought it was because earlier we saw her kind of defy him in the other episode where it was something serious and together, and while he was trying
Which
to be
was maybe
funny.
cut again.
But I like seeing her doing something fun.
I think
That
it's
was
because she had that
entertaining.
conversation with Derek, and he was saying this, because she was saying that he's going so broad, we're all trying to pull it back, and he said, screw it, do what you think is right.
Right. Which was, I thought, great advice.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see Megan Hilty sing in a different
Style.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And really show that, not that we ever doubted that she had skills, but we just got to see another layer of them.
Yeah, and buy her more as a leading lady in
She's
this.
such a dynamic performer. She can pretty much
She
do
is.
anything. We've seen the ballads, we've seen fun pieces like this from Broadway, and then
Yes.
she's got her album, which is sort of more like poppy, even country a little bit.
She played Elle Woods at one point, didn't she, on the Legally Blonde? And I would have liked to have seen that. Or her as Glinda. I know she played that in Wicked at one point. I kind of want to look at my old Wicked playbill at home because I saw it right when Kristen Chenoweth left. So I wonder if that was maybe when she took over. I kind of want to
Probably.
look at it and go, oh my God.
Probably. Then we had Heart-Shaped Wreckage, which was the duet between Karen and Jimmy. I really liked the arrangement of the harmonies in this
Yeah.
piece toward the
Yeah.
end because it was different and it was difficult harmonies. I mean, just from a singing standpoint, ones that don't come naturally. It wasn't a bunch of thirds, and I really liked the arrangement, especially on that at the end. However, I think there was a general consensus about the end of the song. Does anybody want to say it?
Ew.
Meaning the kiss that sealed the DL.
I actually
There
did
was a
say
big-
that while watching.
Yeah, there was
that.
a big groan that came out of the screening room when we watched it all together. Anyone else's thoughts about the song?
I wonder
actually?
if that kiss was written into the script or if it was one of those, like, they were so in the moment that they just kissed because they have feelings for each other now or whatever. I don't know.
It
Ew.
was scripted.
Because you could tell there was one more note they were supposed to sing, but it was replaced with them kissing.
I tend to think that was on purpose.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes.
I agree. I liked the harmonies in the song. I
Yeah.
liked the song itself. I didn't like the choreography. I thought her flowing dress
Same.
too was a little much.
And
I
she
was
was
like,
wearing
is
a
she
wig.
supposed to be dead? Like, is that what was going on? And he's sorry about it.
She also had a wig
Is she
on.
gonna fly
And I know the wig
soon?
looked
I don't know.
weird.
Yeah, it did look weird.
Like,
The
you
wig
don't have
looks weird,
bangs.
and I know they're playing with reality there because it was Derek's dream and how he would stage it and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it felt odd to me, you know, dreamlike in a slightly nightmarish way.
And there was like a
But I like the song.
Yeah.
So,
subliminal advertising
Yeah, I
in
know
the
that
background
nice product
too.
placement.
Pepsi.
Cola.
Right.
I did like that though. I liked the night setting and everything. It was just their costumes and even the dress she had on before it was dream dress.
Yes.
Was not flattering on her.
It
I just
wasn't,
kept
and
thinking, I'm like, she's such a hot body and they're not dressing it properly.
And that dress looked like it was tucked up in her underwear in the back.
It did.
Yeah, that
She got back from the bathroom.
I was
I
like,
noticed
oh.
that too. Was it
And I knew it
supposed to
was,
be?
yeah, it was designed, but it
Yeah.
just didn't look well executed. It looked like an accident.
Yeah.
So sorry, we're supposed to be talking songs. One of the things I noticed in the opening credits, and I wanted to talk about this just a little bit, is the songs for Hit List are all written by another team besides Mark Shaman and Scott Whitman. It's Julian Emery, John Green, James Lawrence Irvin, and Lucy Silvas. And I don't know if that's for all of the songs for Hit List, because in what I've got in front of me just has them on a couple of songs, but it said in the opening credits, you know, songs for Hit List and this list of people. So I think that's interesting that they kind of subbed out the other musical to another group, because you will get a different style
Yeah,
with
and
another
have a
group.
totally different feel.
Yeah.
I think that's why.
So I thought that was
That was
an
a good
interesting
catch.
solution. Yeah, well, it was, you know, it just
And
caught my
also
eye.
maybe division of labor, it's helping them out.
Yeah.
Yes, because we keep saying we want more songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are only so many hours in a day and so much music a person can write. Yes. Anything else on the songs, on the music, anybody? I just want more of them.
Me too.
And
It felt a little slow without it, and I don't think anything really took my breath away. I
Yeah.
enjoyed all of them, but there's none that really stood out. Like even at the end of the episode, I had to rethink to myself, was there any music? And maybe that's because we had Jennifer Hudson singing for the
Yeah.
last couple episodes too, and
Yeah.
hers are always big ballads and powerhouse songs, and these were all silent. Not that I minded it, but I just don't feel like anything stood out as much.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's it. Do we have any news tonight?
Not really. We were talking about the
Well,
ratings.
yeah.
Okay.
It's like the ongoing
That's
chatter
some news.
online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the chatter? I don't know.
Well, we even some of our commenters, they're saying
Yeah.
like, why are ratings down? That's exactly our thoughts, guys. Like, why are ratings down? And it's true. Let's look at.
Did they offer their theories or their opinions about
No,
why?
they're
Oh,
just
okay.
you know.
So let us know. I mean, what do you think
Yeah.
out there?
Yeah, the viewers, yes,
Yes,
and listeners.
comment.
What do you
Let
think
us
about
know what
why?
you think about why the ratings are down.
Yeah.
Sadly,
And if they are, what would help bring them up?
Yes.
I think they need. Who's the lead-in for Smash? Because I don't even know what's on before. On Tuesdays.
It's a Ryan Murphy production, I know,
Yeah.
because we see that before we go in. So it could be Modern Family, or I don't think it's
Oh,
Glee.
no, Modern
No, New
Family's on
Normal.
ABC.
You mean
I
the
mean,
new
New Normal is what I meant to say.
my-
Oh, boy, that was a bad one.
Is that right before?
I don't know. I'm just saying
ABC,
the Ryan
Fox.
Murphy card was up at the beginning of our recording.
Yeah.
So that was,
yeah.
but it could be New Normal.
Maybe it is.
I'm not sure. We'll have to look it up. But
Yeah.
last episode, sadly, it's dropped 22% to a new series low of 0.7, a 0.7
Oh, that is
rating.
bad
That's
news.
bad news
You know
for
what the next
bad.
news is.
But of all the articles
coming
that I took a look at, they do note that is probably one of the factors that there isn't a great lead-in compared to last year with, like, was it The Voice?
I think it was.
Yes, it
What
was.
a great show to have before it too, because you have people who obviously
Who
like
love
singing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Another thing that they talk about is that in between season 1 and season 2, there was a 9-month gap.
Yeah.
And so just people just forgot about it
Of course.
during that time.
Of course.
Which I have to agree with, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As
unless
being a
you're having,
factor.
things in between as well to keep people interested, or something that's really groundbreaking. Like even I'm a big Breaking Bad fan, and it feels like forever since they last had it.
It
And
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
forever.
and it's over 9 months.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Same with Mad Men.
And you
know,
can't, you just can't sustain an audience
Yeah.
that way.
And when
as
season
well.
1 debuted, there was so much marketing for that. Remember all
Yes,
the
we
ads
talked
they're
about that.
running, and the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
was ad placement there. And then season 1 ended, and ratings were already going down. And then with the 9-month gap, and really not
How
as
do you
much,
come back from that?
and no advertising. Well, not much advertising,
Hardly any.
really.
They lost a lot of momentum.
Yeah, they really did. They really did. All right, let's move on to predictions, ladies, because we are going over time.
Hey.
And now,
and gentlemen.
I wasn't connecting it.
Ladies, I was like, what?
I know.
What?
John, do you have a prediction?
No.
Oh, maybe that's why I didn't come up with gentlemen. And
Do we all think Karen's going to stay with Bombshell, or do you think she's going to go to Hit List? I personally think she's going to go to Hit List. But
well, it kind of looked that way in the coming up.
Yeah.
That she's going to go. But then, like, we were we've been giving our predictions all night long. Yeah. So I don't think we need to spend a lot of time with this. But, you know, then Ivy is going to have to decide what she's going to do. Mm-hmm. Is she going to stay with Dangerous Liaisons? Is that thing going to just magically resolve itself because it's such a mess? And she goes back to Bombshell?
I think she stays with Liaisons.
Do you?
Yeah. And I think actually that would be an interesting time to get somebody new, introduce another character as the Marilyn.
Jennifer Hudson.
There you go.
Yes.
Jennifer Hudson.
That would
Kendra, do you have any predictions?
Well, I think if Karen goes to Hit List, she's still going to try to be a part of Bombshell. I don't think she'll just completely cut ties.
You know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it was like that was her baby. That was her.
Right.
That was supposed to launch her career.
But did we see in the coming ups her saying, "I'm not the Marilyn you want. She is, or you are, or whatever."
Wanted Ivy.
Well, I think Tom will be treating her like Ivy, and that's not. They're not the same. They don't bring the same thing to the table for Marilyn.
Right.
They, as we saw last
Yeah,
season.
Derek works better for Karen as a director.
You know, one of the other things I was thinking is there could be this legal battle that ensues over Bombshell, so it could actually production could get shut down.
Right.
So we end up having no Bombshell at all, and Hit List and Liaisons be the two shows that we're going forward with in the series.
Or maybe something in the Royal Crown too. Smash goes to London.
Yes, that's true. We didn't even talk about that. We'll have
Peter
to
the
talk
Parasite. We can talk
Peter the
about.
Parasite. We will talk more about him maybe next week.
Karen and Ivy may flirt with rebuilding some sort of friendship
Between the two of them.
Yeah, after that elevator scene we didn't really talk about.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Everything's awesome. How's it with you? Awesome. Everything's awesome. It's amazing. I'm so happy. My dream is incredible.
Was shot because they were in one space and they got an elevator. It continued. The scene continued, and then the elevator opened. It was another scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the
Yes.
background.
Good one. Kristin, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Kristin Carole 13.
Kendra, where can we find you?
You can find me at Kendra Kabasele on Twitter.
Well, that's convenient, isn't it? Sarah, where can we find you?
You can find me at Sarah with an H Mendoza.
John Comerford, I hear you're in a movie.
I am. Adventures of Serial Buddies in select theaters around the country. Go to adventureserialbuddies.com and they'll tell you where and when you can see it.
Awesome. Steven, would you like us to tell us where we can find you?
Well, you can find me in the booth here most days.
Yes. No Twitter? Okay.
No, not today.
All right, not today. Okay. You can find me at Tamara Berg on Twitter. Also, you can find me at Home and Family in just a couple hours. I'm going to be on tomorrow at 7 a.m. Also, my website is tamaracentral.com. Thank you all for being here with us tonight, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being on the panel. And we will see you next week for Smash.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.